And all this time, you go to hospital, I have to go with him because sometimes he was weak, or so we'd go together, or he would lie back in the cab on the back seat, and so I'd have to be the one to direct the driver where we are going, and the baby is strapped to me. So it's getting difficult because I'm like, there's the baby, there are the other two who are in school, and there's home to deal with. While we're at my parents' house, my mom is at work. So I should step into, what's going before dinner? Have you guys prepared this? And just follow up on what's happening in the home. So I'm pulled into these three different directions. The pain is getting worse. He's losing weight rapidly. I call up a doctor friend who has treated people in our family for a long time, and he's a surgeon. And he says, bring him to my clinic. So I tell him, let's go there. There was one scan though where the what do they call those guys? The radiologist, the person who did the scan, said, I need you to pinpoint this black dot. He had pointed somewhere on one of the intestines. This black dot, go and ask the doctor to see if they can establish what's causing that area to be like that. That's the only person I remember who was concerned about his intestines in that light. Everybody else, or for me, what I was getting was intestinal obstruction. So this, and then also there was a gastrointestine expert. I forget the name, it's long. And he said we needed to do certain tests, including an MRI, which the whole body image, so he can figure out what's going on. He says, I don't see any obvious blockage. So I'm like, so what is going on? He's losing weight, he's in pain, which means work is not being done. I am on maternity leave, and not because he doesn't have a proper 9 to 5, he's on my health insurance as my dependent. And so when we begin doing all these tests and what, we're okay because we're doing outpatient. But now when it comes to the deeper tests, it's pricey. I remember HR even called and asked, what is happening? And she said, numbers on your insurance thing are not adding up. What's going on? So I told her the truth. Then she said, okay, keep following up and see what's going on because we need to put a stop to it before it gets too bad. So I said, okay. He goes to this doctor friend who I told me bring him into the clinic. He orders us to do it's called, you see, I've lost track of the names. I think I have decided, my subconscious decided they don't want to remember these things. It was called something to do with, and there's a test they do where they pour some ink into your intestines. And so the imaging is much clearer and you're able to see exactly what's going on in the person's intestines. And so we took him there. I was my brother at that time. And we waited and waited. And I said, how can a scan take this long? So the nurse at the imaging center told me, do you know how sick your husband is? So I said, I don't know. What's the problem? She said, anyway, we are still cleaning out his system. We haven't even done the actual scan yet.
That's the nurse.
I look at my brother. My brother asks me, would you like to go away from here? Because it's not ending now. I said, yes. So we tell the nurse, is it okay if we go and come back? She says, yeah, because we are here for a long time.
Oh.
So my brother takes me to have lunch. But then he has to go because I had asked him to pick my kids that day from school. So he says, I have to leave here. I said, it's okay, we'll find a special hire and we'll go back to the clinic. We were there from midday. When he came out to me, it was 6. And at that point, I was like, whatever this is, a God, it is big. So I asked her, when she brings the charts to me, I asked her, do you need to tell me anything? She said no, because the doctor on the other side who requested for the imaging. We'll explain to you what's going on. So I'm like, okay. I asked him, you, what did you see? He said, nothing. My system was just clogged, so they had to clean it. I'm like, okay. But at that point, my thoughts are running wild. My thoughts are running wild. I get Tim back to the clinic. The doctor says, I'm still doing my rounds. I'll come and see him later on. So they see him later on, but it's getting late, so I beg to leave. And he had also said, no, it's okay. I'll see the doctor myself, and then we'll update you. I'm running all sorts of crazy in my head. So, and she tells me, but I think, no. So I go into the room and he tells me, oh, he's booked me for an operation. I asked why. He said, because a part of my intestine is damaged because of all the clogging. So he wants to cut out the part that's damaged. And then, because it's a small one and it's very long, they can actually rejoin. So I say, fine. But it sounds like it's a big one. Where does he want to do it from? Because his theater here is small. Says, no, he can use the theater at the hospital. I'm like, okay. I go home and tell my people. Now, by this time, I've been calling his sisters, his family, saying, I need help, I need help, I need help. He's really, really sick. Please come.
Where was the family?
In India. Because there was a sister who was living here before, but she had some medical issues and we had to repatriate her. Yeah. Because she needed to be taken care of around the clock and we couldn't do it here. So she had gone back. And so I kept telling them, please. So I had her contact. I kept telling them, I need you guys to come. He is very, very sick. It's not a joke anymore. So they say, okay, but keep us updated, keep us posted. So I say, so I thought they'd come before the operation. They didn't. On the day of the operation, I called and said, look, he's come out of the operation was long, but when it ended, when he came out, he was unconscious, and they told me we have to take him to ICU. And then Tuesday, it's looking bad. This is end of November, so now we are into beginning of December. It's looking bad. The doctors refused me to be in the hospital because they said, please just go and take care of your baby. Because one day I had to take her to the daycare center of the hospital. The hospital administration said, it's okay, bring her to the daycare down here because you can't go with her to the ward.
Yes.
So 6th of December, but meanwhile people are checking on him. So everybody has taken it upon, my family has taken it upon themselves. You'll do the morning check, I will do the afternoon, someone else will do the evening. And we're just looking at stats. Have they improved? Have they worsened? Yeah. Has he opened his eyes today? Did he not open? That's what they were doing. And they'd come back and report to me. Anything else, the doctors would call me. And then my HR calls me and says, Lucy, your bill has now gone to beyond the limit of what we can do for a dependent. Insurance has
complained now.
It's at its limit. So she says, I'm not telling you we stop. I'm just saying you need to know now. So you need to find what solution we are going to come up with. I say, I have no solution. She came to the hospital, Bambi, to see him and also to sit with the hospital administration and tell them, don't worry, just give him all the treatment he needs and we'll figure this thing out afterwards. 6th of December, I get a phone call from a friend of mine. She tells me, oh, Clay's cousin has called me. They are on the plane. They have landed in Entebbe.
That's his family.
So I ask her, how do you know? And I don't know because I am the direct in-law. And she said, I don't know why they got in touch with me. But anyway, they are coming to the hospital direct. Unfortunately for them, they land on December 6th. I had got a phone call from the head of ICU saying, you need to come into the hospital now. So I asked, what's the problem? She said, just come. And I felt heavy. Like there was a load someone had put on me all of a sudden. When we got to the hospital parking yard, I knew what they were going to tell me. But something in me had like switched off, and I was like, I know what they're going to tell me. And sure enough, as soon as I came into the ICU, the hospital admin held my hand and said, Lucy, we are very sorry. he's gone. I stand there in shock, and he was still lying on his bed. All the machines have been removed. So they tell me we tried to resuscitate twice. The second time, we didn't get him back up. So she takes me to a side room, and I kept telling her, it's paining, it's paining. She asked me, what's paining? I said, my heart. Like I had a physical pain in my chest. So she takes me and she says she's very sorry. They tried everything. I say, I know you did. And then she tells me, you know, your sisters-in-law are here. I told her I don't want to see them. And she said we understand because when they arrived, I think it was just a few minutes later and then he was gone. So they are angry, but we don't want them to see you. So they kept me in that room for as long as I could, you know, like be there, and it seemed like I couldn't make sense of what had happened. And then after a while, she asks, do you want to go and say goodbye? And then I said no, because I want to remember him even before the operation. So if I go to his bedside, that's going to be a very clear image in my mind, and I don't want that. So they whisked me up to the doctor's office, up away from everything, just to keep me there. And they asked me, do you want anybody to come? I said yes, I want my dad to come. By that time, my two friends had shown up. My sister was there. My sister and her someone who has become like a sister to us, I think. Yeah, they were the ones who were there. So we sat and they told us doctor is going to come and talk to you, and that's when I learned for the first time since I'd been running up and down that my husband had actually been battling cancer. And I was angry because why did anybody keep this from me? And so I was really mad. And the doctor told me not to be angry. And he said, given the situation and the circumstances, I understand why he requested that he not be told it was cancer. And as doctor-patient confidentiality, we had to keep it. And that is why we worked around a way we could just keep you informed without bringing you also into the whole thing. Then he asked me, were you not able to be there for your child? I said, yes, I was. And he said, that's what he wanted. That's what he wanted. And I said, yeah, but he deprived me of looking after, of saying bye properly. Because if I had known, yes, I would have been worried, but I would have said bye, and I would have had closure. Yeah. But now he's gone. He was battling cancer on his own, plus only 2 doctors I know. So that means he was literally alone doing this fight. And then I remember asking my dad, what am I going to tell Danielle? She has an interview tomorrow for P1. And the doctor said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And then he said, what do we do with the body for now? I said, the body has to stay in the morgue until I find funds to get the body out. And then when they showed me the bill, I could have died. They showed me the bill of 78 million Uganda shillings. 78. And I said, I cannot pay this bill. And I told the hospital administration, unless you're willing to take 500,000 shillings from my salary every month for I don't know how many years, I cannot pay this bill.
Yeah.
So they tell me, while you mean very well, that obviously isn't a workable solution. HR, because she's aware, she's one of the first people I called, and she said, I'm coming to see you. So she tells me we are going to, yes, she was the epitome of what HR should really be.
Yeah.
Like,
it was.
because HR is supposed to take care of the personal needs of the
People.
of the employees, and she did that. Actually, up to today, I call her my good mother. And she said we are going to sit as an executive committee, and we are going to discuss this. And I was so shocked when my boss called, the boss of bosses of the office called me and said, your name came up. We're working around a solution to
Your name
see
showed
how
up
we
in
can
the
help.
ex-
Your name showed up in the executive committee meeting. So we are trying to figure out how to help you. So they advanced me 10 million so that at least the body could come out. And then in terms of burial, because his family was outside, now with a bill like this, there's no way I can take the body out.
Yeah. And they needed 10 to release the body.
They said at the very least, let's have 10 million. Because it's also a show of goodwill that then you will look for whatever, for the rest, but not too long a time. So this lady knew me, the lady who had been married to my sister, whose brother had been married to my sister-in-law. So she said she would be willing to look for a plot of land. So we got a plot at the Kasubi father's land on Entebbe Road, and that's where he was buried. It was just my family, his two sisters, and then a few friends who could actually make it because it was around midday, so people are at work. It's been sudden, and even after and meanwhile the body stayed in the morgue for like 7 days. So again, you don't want to. Now you've removed it, then you want to now do a VGL. Then it didn't make sense.
Yeah, with even the loan that is
The loan that is, oh God. So we informed only those we could, and then those who made it. Yeah. But I remember groups of friends of mine afterwards would come home, and then somebody held a fundraising, and that I remember it went to school fees at that time. So we buried him. I wouldn't speak. I think I was still in shock, and I didn't speak. So I asked my father to speak on my behalf and on behalf of the grandchildren. They had asked my kids to go and do some things around the body. I said no, because I didn't want that to be ingrained in the back of their minds, and when they're older they start remembering some weird stuff they did. So I said no. The only thing I permitted them to do was light the candle and put it by the graveside. I said that one is okay, because a candle I can explain. Spraying stuff around the body and walking around it, I'm sorry.
You won't be able
Plus,
to explain to your children
exactly.
what they were doing.
Then they were telling me, no, but it's what we do. I said, fine, then you do it, but my kids will not do it. And I will not do it. And the lady where we are going to do the service from said, it's her husband, so real. It's her person, so.
Yeah.
So they respected that, and so we come back from burial, go back home. I'm still in this. I think I was like a zombie. When I think about it now, I was like a zombie, like the whole time. Anyway, so now I have to deal with the emotions, and I am angry. There's still the 68 million pending because we have removed 10, but now the hospital reduces it some more.
How?
For some reason, I have a sister who's very particular and about little details. So she starts looking through because they have to give you your bill plus everything that was done to him.
Yeah, the detailed bill. Yeah.
So there was one part I still remember vividly where I saw 300 pairs of gloves in one day.
300.
300. So I asked them, so like you are playing with them, but explain, because even in ICU, there are few people who enter ICU, even in terms of the medical staff. So how do you explain this bill here? How do you explain this one? How do you explain this one? And then they were disarmed. And because I'd already been talking to the CEO of the hospital, he called and apologized and said we shall reduce the bill further.
So it's very important to actually look through that.
It
bill.
is crucial because even with him being in the morgue, there's a daily fee. And I told them you need to stick to the daily fee. Then they claimed the medication was about how much for the body. I said, when you embalm the body once, you don't need to go back and do it every day for the time the body is in there.
I think some people pay because they're not informed about those
Yes,
details.
and so the sisters had come to me and told me you need to release money because we need to treat the body. I said, when the body has been treated once, we don't need to do anything again.
Yeah.
So I was like, no,
So
I'm
they
not
reduced
doing
the bill
this.
from 68 million.
Okay, so the entire, it came to 58.
Wow.
It came to 58. So because I had to pay the 10 back, now my only solution at the time was to get a bank loan. HR told me there's no two ways about this. You have to get a bank loan. I had sworn never to get a bank loan unless it could be a huge thing of I've put a down payment on a house, or I have paid for the kids' education till they're at university. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
like an
a bank
investment.
loan needed to be an investment. Now here I am having to take a bank loan for a dead person, to put it bluntly.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, really? So for the next 6 years of my life, every month, money is going to go to paying for a dead person. And I actually told my in-laws the way it was, as plain as that. That's what I told them it means. And so they sort of backed off. So now I'm dealing with the anger of being in debt. I'm dealing with the anger of him not telling me he has cancer. I'm dealing with the emotions of I've lost a person I love and now I have to be there for my children. It's one of the worst places I've ever been in my life. 2014, even on my worst enemy, I would never wish for anyone to have a year like that. Because the emotions you're dealing with, and then I'm coming from a home where my mother and dad are still together. So they can't understand what the pain I'm going through.
Yeah.
So I reached out to an auntie who had lost her husband earlier. And I told her I want to get out of the house. And I just want to go and be, and I'll come back when I come back. And she said, do it. She said, because at this moment, nobody knows the emotions you're feeling or what you're going through. Just go out. So I did. And I went. But then because you're living in this environment of people telling you to be strong, you need to think of the kids. You need to think of the kids. The one thing I kept asking myself, but who's thinking of me? Who's worried that I might lose it?
Yeah.
You know, you're telling me to be strong, but in me being strong, I'm ignoring
So
what I'm feeling. I'm angry, I'm upset, I am mad at the world. I've lost someone who in my world was supposed to be with me for the long haul. And our story has been cut short. Every plan we had, now I'm planning alone. Who is there listening to that in me? And there were moments I wanted to scream and tell the world, listen to me. And that's the thing about grief, especially when it's very personal like that. People tell you to be strong, which is okay. But if I don't deal with the feelings I'm feeling, then I will not be strong anyway, because I'm just pretending. And if I'm pretending, there's only so much pretense I can do. And then you're going to break. And so I decided, one of the things I decided to do was, you know what, maybe let me move out of home and go and pay my bills on my own with my kids. It was tough. Every month you come, you see almost 2 million being removed from your salary. Then you look at what you have left and you're like, how am I going to take care of the kids? There is school fees. They have to eat. I mean, I cannot stop the lifestyle he had started for them. We used to go out as a family at least every other weekend to have a meal. I cannot stop that. People will castigate you. Now you're being a spendthrift. You're spending money. But the memories, am I going to stop them? So you're battling with all these things, and then people who don't get it will judge you for being wasteful. But to today, I'm grateful because my kids have memories
Good memories.
of things we've done together.
Yeah.
Of things we've done together. The school they were in at the time, because I had started with them, it was a new school, and I'd worked with them and I'd even recommended people with them. They reached out to me without me reaching out to them and said, I had delayed to take them to school, and they reached out to me in 2015. 2014 was the worst. And then end of 2014, the head mistress said, next year, bring my children. She called them my children. Bring my children to school, their own bursary.
Wow.
So you're like, oh, that is off of me. So now let me worry about rent and putting food on the table and doing every other thing that we would have done if we were together.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, even if he wasn't working all the time, when he did a gig, it was a lot of money that came in. So we're able to do a lot with that money. Now, I don't have that option. Now it's Lucy. But then the people telling you, be strong, be strong. Guys, I want to tell you, when someone, please don't say that thing to people.
When they are grieving.
Especially when it's very personal loss. Just don't. It just takes them to a bad place. It takes them to a bad place. And so, will I tell myself to be strong the next time I lose someone? Yes. But that's to me because I've been through this and I know what I need to do.
To be strong.
Thank you. But this was my first time to lose somebody that dear to me. Anyway, I did what I could, and the friends who stayed with me were very close to me. With my siblings, it was sometimes it was good, sometimes it was bad. Sometimes it was good, sometimes it was bad. Again, because I felt like they didn't understand what I was going through.
Because they've never gone through it, you know.
So you will tell me be strong. What do you mean by be strong? You tell me don't go out and spend many hours away from the house. Do you know why I needed that moment away from the house? You see all those things. So it was crazy. It was crazy.
You see, that's a
That's
very
crazy.
personal experience. And, you know, while you were speaking, I kept on feeling like, you know, I think sometimes people are very insensitive, you know, and you can't blame them because they've not been through it. And some are just being genuine, they're trying to help, they're
Yes.
trying to sympathize.
Yeah.
They don't even know how to sympathize. So, according to you and according to what you've gone through, if someone is going through loss right now, what do you think? What's that one thing you would tell them? What is going to help them?
What's going to help them? Honestly, it's time.
Wow. Time.
It is time.
Wow. Thank you, Lucy. I hope I've not cut you short. I was very determined to have her story said fully because we tend to make sure that everything that is said here is detailed. We don't rush our guests. We don't rush. We are not in any rush. We want to listen to you. We want to get your emotional beat. So if you're there and you've dealt with pain, you can comment in the section and tell us for you, how did you deal with the pain? If you're dealing with the pain right now, Lucy has made it clear that, you know, time helps a lot. With time, you realize that a week has passed without you mourning, but take the time and mourn. You know, take every minute and mourn, cry it out, you know. And everyone out there, you know, if you have someone that, you know, is dealing with grief, I think it's very clear that, you know, you learn to be very sensitive and avoid the much speaking. Yeah, be kind to people who are grieving. Be very kind to them and let the words be few. Be there, but be very silent. You know, thank you so much, Lucy, for sharing your story. I'm very inspired. You know, I now know how to deal with someone who has gone through loss. You know, and this is not just a loss of a spouse or a child. There are many losses people go through. You know, some are not, you know, about a child. Some are into, you know, like an empire. You've invested your life working for something, and it looks like it's at the verge of breaking, you know. And many people take their lives at that time, you know. So it's very important to have that time to heal And at the end of it all, you heal. You heal because seeing you telling your story after how many years?
9 years.
9 years. You still see there is still some mourning, but there is a healing that has happened. And that's how we deal with loss. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for taking your time to watch. Till next time, I remain Renette. Please subscribe. If you've not subscribed, I don't know why you're looking at us right now. You need to subscribe so that we know that what we're doing, is inspiring you. Please subscribe and share. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.